Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to all our listeners tonight. I am just trying to get this all synced up and we'll be ready to go, inshallah. So, with that being said, Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa mawala. There we go, mashallah. Brothers and sisters, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another Thursday night reflection where we as a community come together as we would in the masjid every Thursday night after a prayer and discuss words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam that serve as a reminder to all of us, especially at this time when we are greatly in need of reminder, we're in need of support, we're in need of encouragement. So, Alhamdulillah, welcome. Welcome to us to this virtual reminder tonight, our Thursday night reflection, in which we read a story from the Hadith. And Alhamdulillah, today's story, going in order, we're actually going backwards, falls completely in place with the subject matter that is so important to cover at this current time. Now, before we go into that story for tonight, which is a little lengthy, alhamdulillah, but why not, right? We're all together, so alhamdulillah. I wanna, I want to discuss a mindset that is starting to prevail amongst many people of faith, and that is, why am I, why am I in this? Why did Allah Subhanahu wa Taala put me in this situation? Is it some type of punishment Allah is doing by selecting me in this time or putting this issue in my time of my life? Now, many of us may question why we have to face this. Why couldn't the people 100 years ago, well, of course they faced another type of pandemic, but why couldn't people 50 years ago face this? Or why can't people 100 years from now face this? Why is it that I have to face this? So what we learn inshallah tonight and what we have learned in our faith throughout is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not inflict us with challenges or tests, but He has given us the ability to forbear and to confront those tests. La yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not burden a soul but with that which it has the capacity and ability to withstand. So let us not look at it from this lens of why is this happening to me? Like, why does my life have to be ruined? No one's life is being ruined. Matter of fact, our lives are actually being enhanced and we are being spiritually grown as we speak. This is our spiritual growth as we speak. And so, the one thing we need from ourselves tonight is actually two things. Number one is accepting that this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa alaikum salam. Uh, wa alaikum salam to Shafaq Zia. Thank you so much for joining us. Wa alaikum salam to Brother Shumail. Thank you so much. Please feel free to comment as we have this short time together. And so, the first thing we need to do, my fellow brothers and sisters and fellow children in Islam, is accept. Accept that this is something from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the second thing we need to do is endure. If you accept, then you will embrace and then you will endure. Sorry, that's three things. Accept from Allah, embrace the status quo, and then endure it. And then watch how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helps. This is a story of a boy who didn't expect that this was going to happen in his life. This is a story of a boy who couldn't, in his wildest dreams, would have thought that what was going to transpire in his life actually happened. But he accepted that this is something, and thus he embraced it, and then he endured it. And I want you and I to remind ourselves tonight what his accepting, embracing, and enduring the test did for him and did for others. So at this moment in time, every believer on this Friday, on this blessed day of Friday, needs to accept that this is from Allah and there's something good in it for me. This is not a mistake. This is not a curse. It's not like Allah put me in this position on purpose to laugh at me. Na'udhu billah. Accept there's something in it for you. Embrace all of it. Embrace all of it and endure it. And watch. through this journey how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes good for you and for others. Without further ado, it is transmitted in Sahih Muslim that Suhaib Rumi radiallahu ta'ala reports that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that there lived before a king, and he had a court magician. As a magician grew old, he said to the king, "I have grown old. Send some young boy to me so I can teach him magic." The king sent to him a young boy so that he should train him in magic. On the way to the magician, the boy passed by a monk, and he enjoyed his conversations. So he used to sit there, and thus he came late to the magician, who beat him for the delay. He complained about it to the monk, who suggested to him, "If you feel afraid of the magician, tell him that you were delayed at home. And if you're afraid of your family, then tell them that you were delayed at the magician." It so happened that one day a huge beast blocked the way of the people, and the boy thought to himself, "I will see today whether the monk is superior or the magician." He picked up a stone and said, "O Allah," I want everyone to say that, "O Allah." When we turn to Allah, we say, "O Allah." So what was his prayer? If the affair of the monk is dearer to you than the affair of the magician, cause death to this animal so that the people may be able to move about freely. And he flung the stone on the beast and he killed it. The people were thus able to move about freely. He then came to the monk and narrated to him what just happened. The monk said, "My son, today you are superior to me. Your affair has reached a stage where I find that you would be put to trial. And if you are put to trial, don't give my clue." The young boy began to treat the blind and the leper, and in fact, he cured people, all kinds of people with all kinds of illnesses. When a companion of the king who was gone blind had heard about him, he came to him with numerous gifts and said, "Whatever I have collected would be yours if you cure me." He said, "I do not cure anyone. He is Allah who cures, and if you affirm faith in Allah, I shall also supplicate to Allah to cure you." He affirmed his faith to Allah, and then they prayed to Allah, and Allah cured him. He came to the king and sat by his side as he was used to sitting earlier. The king asked him, "Who restored your eyesight?" He answered, "My Lord." He asked, "Do you have a Lord other than me?" The king asked the companion, and the king's companion responded, "My Lord and your Lord is Allah." So he took hold of him, tormented him until he revealed that the boy had cured him. I want to pause here. Fellow brothers and sisters, what an amazing reminder. This boy was living his individual life. He had no intention of getting involved in a king's palace and a king's affair and going to see a magician or going sitting with a monk. It wasn't something that he expected. It wasn't something he anticipated. But one day the magician said to the king, "Get me a boy," and lo and behold, they found this boy. Now this boy is brought forth. The boy didn't fight it. You see, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings forth trials, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings forth good or bad, it's an opportunity for us to either gain closeness to Him or to become distant from Him. The question is, in this current time, my fellow Muslims, what are you hoping to accomplish? Closeness to Allah or to get away from Allah? I pray to Allah we all are aspiring to gain closeness to Him. Ameen Ya Rabbil Alameen. So for that, the first thing he did was accept that this is what's happening. He went along with it. But as he accepted the command of the king, he also was able to find this monk. If it was in the absence of him going to the king's palace, he would have never ever seen this monk. Most likely he wouldn't have. And so now he is given two different channels and two different opportunities to understand. And so what his heart felt comfort in was the words of the monk, because the words of the monk reflected piety, nobility, purity in Allah, while the word of the magician reflected darkness and reflected dark practices. And so one day Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put him to the test. And so what he did was he embraced that test. And that's exactly what we are being called upon to do today. Let us embrace the test. We accept this is from Allah. It's not a curse, it's not a mistake. It's actually something very beautiful from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let us accept it. Let's embrace what's happening at this moment. And so at that time, he picked up the stone. And at this moment, you and I will pick up our hands. We can either start texting about it, tweeting about it, complaining about it, calling people about it, telling people how bored we are, or we can put our hands up and say, what, everyone? Oh Allah. What do we say, everyone? Oh Allah. Call onto Allah. ادعوا ربكم تضرعا وخفيا. Call on to your Lord. Call on to your Lord in a state of humility and a state of fear. Turn to Allah with your tears. And so he said, oh Allah, because he wanted to know in his heart the affirmation. He wanted to affirm that the knowledge he's getting from the monk is true and the knowledge he's getting from the magician is dark. And so he said, oh Allah, if the knowledge of the monk is true, remove this beast. Are you telling me, my fellow Muslims, that on this blessed day of Jum'ah, the second night of Sha'ban, if we all as an ummah globally pray, Allah's not going to remove this? If Allah can remove the beast that the people were so scared of that they couldn't even move, they couldn't pass the road, and he said, oh Allah, if the knowledge of the monk is true, remove this beast. So we pray together, oh Allah, the one who sent our Habib Muhammad with the truth and who revealed on him the truth, remove this from our path. What do we say, everyone? Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. We need to pray and we need to commit in our prayers. And subhanallah, so what happened? What happened was that this beast not only moved, it died. And so everyone was like, whoa, this kid's something. Of course, there was no Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok or Facebook Live or YouTube Live to kind of record this thing. So it became the talk of the town. And as it became the talk of the town, many people came to him seeking from him an answer. Remember one thing, brothers and sisters. Let us not be deceived by the materialistic means or the people. The materialistic means are a sabab, it's called a means, but the doer behind the means is Allah. Because the Prophet ﷺ told us a time will come when the Antichrist will present solutions. He will present food and water. The question is, are you going to succumb to him or are you going to keep with Allah? Because it's the same Allah who channeled it through him who could channel it through another way also. So just remember this. People came to him. It could have inflamed and what you call it. It could have pumped up his ego and made him feel so superpower. He said no. What did he say? Exactly what he said to the king's minister. I'm not the one who does this. Allah does this. Bring faith on Allah. Turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ask Allah. He'll do it. Are you telling me Allah's not capable? Who from us today in our right mind could feel that Allah is not capable? Na'udhu billah, Allah has always been capable. Allah is currently capable. Allah will forever be capable. Never underestimate Allah. It is sad for us if as a believer we undermine and underestimate Allah. Allah has the power to remove this. Allah can remove this at this moment. Allah can take this away, but Allah is gonna prolong it as long as He deems appropriate. So you and I accept the status quo, embrace the opportunity, and endure the path. And so now, when the monk found out that this kid did such a thing, he's like, you've gone spiritually higher than me. And it seems that something's gonna come around. If it comes around, don't let it come to me. After the king's minister got healed, and the minister told the king, my Lord healed me. The king's like, you have a Lord? He said, yeah, your Lord, my Lord is Allah. We need, my dear brothers and sisters, the determination of the magicians of the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh hired the best magicians to take down Moses, peace be upon him. And when the magicians saw what Musa alayhi salam had, they said, this is not magic. This is something else. And they brought faith on Musa alayhi salam and the Lord of Musa alayhi salam. And what happened then? The Pharaoh gave them a ultimatum, turn back or I'll kill you. And they said, kill us. What was that? It was their determination. We're not going to lose. We believe in Allah. We've seen Allah. Like, we've seen things happen from Allah. You can't take that from us. Do what you want to. And He killed them. But it wasn't the fact that they died, it was the fact that they were determined enough that if they had to put their life on the line, they would have done so. Am I determined enough to turn to Allah and say, "Oh Allah, you're gonna do it. Oh Allah, this is from you. It's gonna go from you, and whatever it's come for, give me the good of it and remove the evil from it." Am I doing that right now? Am I pumped up spiritually to actually turn to Allah, or am I gonna succumb and get under my bed and cry tears? No, it's not the time for that. This is a time that's not gonna come back. Allah has given you this time to prepare, in the blessed months to prepare. We don't know if we're gonna even see Ramadan. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ used to make dua, Allahumma barik lana fi Rajab wa Sha'ban wa ballighna Ramadan. He would make dua, Allah give us blessing in the month of Sha'ban and Rajab so that we can reach Ramadan. He taught us through this dua and supplication. We don't know if we're going to get there. So for those who are, thinking, is this going to ever end? Or when is it going to end? Is there going to be summer holidays? Are schools going to have graduations? We don't even know if we're going to see tomorrow morning. A believer doesn't worry. A believer finds solace in this current moment. I, Alhamdulillah, am feeling peace at this moment after sitting with all of you. And I pray you're feeling the same, because that's what these gatherings are for. And so the king then beat this minister and ultimately found out that this boy was behind it. So this boy was summoned to the king, was said to him, "O boy, it has been conveyed to me that you have become so proficient in your magic that you cure the blind and those suffering from leprosy and this and that." The boy said, "I do not cure anyone. Allah cures everyone." So the king arrested him and tormented him until he gave up the monk. Because the king was, "I gave you all this just to get to that magician. And if you're saying the magician didn't teach you, who taught you? Give it, spill the beans basically. Tell me." And ultimately he told the king it was the monk. The monk was summoned, and it was said to him, "You should turn back from your religion." My dear brothers and sisters, if any time comes in your life that someone says, "Leave your Islam and you will get X, Y, and Z," let us not be like that. Let us not feel that that is a viable option. There is no option when my deen is put on the line, especially at this time. Yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did say in the Quran about وَتَطْمَئِنُّ قُلُوبُهُمْ بِالْإِيمَانِ, the ones whose hearts are okay with Iman, and if they verbally say something. We're not going to that point tonight. We're going to the point, how firm is my Iman? Is it my first resort? Is it my second resort? Is it my last resort? Or is it not even on my checklist? That's what we have to think about. And so then he told the monk, turn back from your religion. He said no. Then he ordered for a saw. The saw was placed on the middle of his head, and it cut him into two parts, and his body dropped. Then the companion of the king was brought, and he was told, "Give up your religion on this Allah." And he said, "I'm not going to do so." So he put the saw in the place of the middle of his head and cut the body into two parts, and he also fell down. Then the young boy was brought and asked to turn back from his religion. He said no. And so the king handed him over to his courtiers, and the king instructed them to take him to the mountain, make him ascend it. When you're at the peak of the mountain, ask him once more to surrender from his religion. If he refuses to do so, then throw him down from the mountain. They took him up to the mountain. They said to him, "Are you going to turn back from your religion?" And what did he say? "Allahumma kfini bihim." Allahumma ikfini bihim. O Allah, suffice me against them. O Allah, suffice us against this virus. O Allah, suffice us against the evils in our world. O Allah, suffice us against the evils that we see or we don't see. This is a boy who Allah was the top priority for. And that's what we're learning tonight. I'm sure you must have heard this story tens of times before, but tonight it's got a different twist to it, and that twist is actually intertwined with what we're seeing and what we're facing right now. And we say, "Allahumma kfini biha." Oh Allah, suffice me from this. Allah, if you are there to protect me, I don't care if there's 1,000,001 people holding me to throw me down the mountain. No one will throw me down the mountain if Allah does not want that to happen. And so since he called on Allah first, what happened was the mountain shook, and all the people fell down, and he stayed standing. He came back to the king. The king said, "What happened?" And he said, Allah saved me from them. And so the king handed him over to other of his courtiers and said, take him and carry him in a boat. When you get to the middle of the ocean, ask him to renounce his religion. If he does not renounce his religion, throw him into the water. So they took him and they said, are you going to turn back from your religion? And what did he say, everyone? Allahumma kfini bihim. Allah, you suffice me. Allah, we should never feel shaken up when the situation and the circumstances come all against us. The world can fall on us, but it will only hit us if Allah decrees. And Allah will hold it back if He wills. And we are going to turn to Allah for what He wants to do. Doesn't mean that what Allah is going to do is what I want. I will surrender to what Allah wants, and Allah will do what's best for me. And so the same scenario happened, that the boat tipped, everyone died, and he remained and he came back to the king. At that time, the king said to him, you know, what can I do with you? He said, Allah save me from your companions. You cannot kill me until you do as I direct you to do. So he said, what is that? He said, you gather all the people of this town and you hang me by the trunk of a tree. Then you take an arrow from the quiver and say, in the name of this boy's Lord, I am killing him. Bismi, Rabba hadhil walad. In the name of this boy's Lord. Then shoot the arrow and see what happens. It will kill me. Subhanallah. The boy put his life on the line by saying, you who feel you're the Lord, take the name of my Lord. And with that, shoot the arrow, I will die. Because my life and my death is in the hand of who, everyone? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what happened? He gathered the people. He was like, that's a cheap bargain. Like, if I can kill you like that, save me a lot of time, save me a lot of resources. So what happened? He called the people on the open plain and bounded the boy to the trunk of a tree. He took the arrow from the quiver and placed it in the bow and said, in the name of Allah, the Lord of this boy. He shot the arrow, it hit him in the temple. The boy placed his hand upon his temple where the arrow hit, and he died. The people said, we affirm our faith in the Lord of this young boy. A boy who became known to the world instantaneously when he did such a miracle. And then he made it clear he's not the one doing the miracle, Allah's the one doing the miracle. And then after that, subsequently, many people gained healing and cure through him because of Allah. And then when the king found out and was jealous, the king put everyone to trial, including this boy. But this boy and the monk and the minister didn't give up on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if the boy doesn't give up on Allah, why should I give up on Allah? This is the demeanor we have to have. If the Prophet ﷺ did not give up on Allah during the time of the boycott, during the time of migration, during the time of the wars, during the time of hunger, during the time of death, during the time of the death of his family members, if the Prophet ﷺ did not give up, why should you and I give up? Why are we so scared? What do we as believers have to lose? Let it be known that anyone who dies in a plague dies as a martyr. You cannot gain that status by dying in your homes. You can only gain that status if Allah has decreed that status for you. Death is not going to change its time. The honor of death may be able to change with the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what happened was, everyone proclaimed in one voice, we bring faith on the Lord of this boy. Now the courtiers came to the king. It was said to him, do you see that Allah has done what you aim to avert? The people have affirmed their faith in the Lord. The king ordered the ditches be dug at important junctions on the road. When they were dug, a fire was kindled in them. The people were told, he who does not turn back from the boy's religion will be thrown into the fire, or they will be asked to jump into it. The people courted death, but did not renounce their religion, till a woman came with her child, and she felt hesitant in jumping into the fire. And the child said to her, O mother, endure it, for it is the truth. On hearing that, she jumped in. This hadith is in Muslim Sharif, hadith number 7148. I've taken more time this evening, and I just want to close with this. Sometimes The reminders of faith come from places we never expected. In the case of this woman, the whole town jumped in the fire. They didn't need to be thrown into the fire because they were not hesitant nor were they reluctant. They went in. But this mother was semi hesitant because there was this baby. She feared for this baby. She could make a decision for herself, but she felt that it wouldn't be right to make this decision for the baby. Many times when we are in the confinements of our home with our children, our family, and our spouses and our parents, we're like, this looks bad. This like because we're all about social distancing, right? We're doing social distancing from the places where we love, and we are socially confining ourselves to the people that we don't love anymore, when in actuality this social distancing from the world is something we really needed, and to be confined within the homes of our family is something we also needed. But sometimes within that batch of people, within our small children, they may utter a word of faith that will really rekindle hope within us. And so that's exactly what happened with that mother. And at that moment, she jumped into the fire. So when he accepted his life to be what it was, he was able to embrace all of it: the magician, the king, the palace, the monk, and everything else. And when he embraced it, Allah then blessed him. When Allah blessed him, he didn't forget Allah. And since he didn't forget Allah, he had to go through a series of trials. And in each time when he successfully got out, he went back, because a person who cares will never leave the people. He loved his people and he cared for the king, and that's why he went back. And he was able to even endure it to the point that he put his life on the line, only so that people could see the truth. Allah wants from us not to put our life on the line tonight. We're not asking for anyone to sacrifice themselves. Allah's not asking for anyone to sacrifice themselves. What we're asking for, are you committed to Allah? O Allah, on this blessed night of Friday, as we send salutations upon the Prophet Muhammad and as we make intention to read our Surah Kahf tonight, and to continue reciting our Quran so that we can end it before the month of Ramadan, O Allah, we ask you to give us that conviction and faith, to be those amongst those who trust you, amongst those who rely on you, amongst those who believe you as you ought to be believed in. O Allah, forgive our hesitation, forgive our shortcoming, forgive our absent mindedness, forgive us being distracted, and allow us, O Allah, to become firm and strong on that which you want us to be at this time when it's needed from us to be, for a situation that only you can turn around. Ameen Ya Rabbil Alameen. Jazakumullah khairan to all of you. It's always nice to meet with the community here on YouTube and on Facebook Live. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of you and your families. It's Friday. Prayers are accepted on this day. Pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I will pray for all of you also. May Allah protect all of us and our families. Ameen Ya Rabbil Alameen. Take care, everyone. It was an honor, and we'll see you all tomorrow for the 2 o'clock discussion. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.